Hello, my name is Eric Westbrook here with Healthy Huskies. We're here to talk about sleep and sleep hygiene. As someone who has been through college, I know that sleep can be a really difficult thing to wrap your head around sometimes because it just doesn't feel like there's much time for it. You've got so many demands, on your time. You've got so many things going on. And also, sleep is really important for a variety of reasons that we're going to talk about in a couple of moments here. So we put together this presentation to give you some strategies for getting better quality sleep and for keeping track of time, things like that. And also some tips about what your environment could be like and, to make your environment helpful, and some sleep hygiene tips as well. So with that, why is this important? So let's talk about the 2020 College Student Health Survey report. They poll St. Cloud State students on a yearly basis, and they compile this data into a report. And so from this most recent one, we found that 4 out of 10 St. Cloud State students get more than 3 days of adequate sleep per week. So that's about half, but it also means that a little more than half are getting less than 3 days of adequate sleep per week. And this is important because college is a really stressful experience, obviously, and sleep is really critical to managing stress. There's some really strong correlations. So over half of students from St. Cloud State who receive less than 3 days of sleep report that they also have difficulty managing stress. And 4 out of 5 students who get 6 to 7 days of adequate sleep report that they have no problems managing stress. And also, little bit of trivia here, there's a strong correlation between getting an adequate amount of sleep and your grade point average. And when you think about that, well, at night is when your brain is kind of integrating everything you learned during the day. This is one of the reasons why cramming for a test doesn't really work. So for your success as a college student, getting sleep is really critical. So let's talk about that a little bit. So the first thing that can really help you as far as sleep goes is setting a consistent bedtime. I'm not going to read that entire quote on the left there. It's kind of there for your reference. The long and the short of it is that your body has these rhythms called circadian rhythms. They operate on a 24-hour clock, and one of the most important ones is the sleep-wake cycle. Because when you disturb this sleep-wake cycle, it makes it more difficult to sleep, and it can just kind of snowball. So how do you deal with that? Well, you have a consistent bedtime. You stay on the cycle. And the ways that you can do that are, one, give yourself a bedtime. I know parents made you have a bedtime when you were a kid, right? And it can be hard to think of it as a gift to yourself, but really what you're saying when you set a bedtime is, this is my time for me to sleep, and I'm not going to let anything else interfere with this because I'm investing in myself and I deserve to have an adequate amount of sleep. And so setting a bedtime, keeping track of time, how might you do that? Use your cell phone. Because your cell phone, you use an alarm to wake up, right? And sometimes you can use an alarm to let you know, oh, I've got that job interview. I have to get to this class now. Well, you can also set an alarm that goes off every night that tells you, hey, it's bedtime. And we've all slept in on the weekend and stayed up really late. The truth is that is a disruption in the sleep-wake cycle. So best practice is really to maintain that schedule over the weekend. Next thing we're going to talk about, the elephant in the room, is the tech curfew, or as I like to call it, setting a bedtime for things that emit blue light. And so why is blue light important? Well, blue light inhibits the production of melatonin, and melatonin is a chemical your body produces to help put you to sleep. So if we're talking about the sleep-wake cycle, blue light is one of those things that can trick your body into thinking that it's daytime, and so it can mess with that cycle a little bit, and that leads to difficulty falling asleep. Another issue with technology is time management. Now, we've all fallen down the YouTube or the TikTok rabbit hole. One thing leads to another. Before you know it, it's 4 in the morning, you got class at 8, and oh boy, I gotta get to sleep. And of course, because of the blue light, it's going to be hard to fall asleep in the first place. So what are some strategies? You can set a tech curfew using the alarm on your phone. Again, same concept is, maybe an hour before bed, T-minus 1 hour to bedtime, An alarm's going to go off and let you know, oh, it's time for me to put my devices away. Let's get ready to sleep. And that's really how technology can either help you or it can hinder you. Use it responsibly. And if all else fails and you just can't stay off your phone, try putting it across the room, away from your bed, so it's just hard to get to. All right, self-care. This might not sound like a sleep concept, but it really is. And this is another gift to yourself, because a restless mind, go figure, isn't restful. So relaxing can really help set the mood for sleep. And if you were perhaps setting a tech curfew an hour before bedtime anyway, it would also be a good time for self-care. So again, some activities are better than others. We were just talking about technology. Browsing the internet is maybe not a very good self-care activity if you're trying to fall asleep. Here are some suggestions for other things. You could take a bath. You could write in a journal, sort of organize your thoughts. Reading can be helpful. Listen to music. Meditating. And if you're like me and you're one of those people who's like up all night perpetually worrying about, oh, I've got this to do tomorrow, I got to remember to do this, one of the gifts that you can give to yourself is to write a to-do list in that hour before bedtime. So again, strategies. Set a consistent time before bed, and cell phone alarms. They can be helpful this way. They're very flexible. So we need to talk about sleep and alcohol. And I've written that they're acquaintances and not friends here, because one thing that is true is that alcohol can help you fall asleep faster, and you can, if for a little while, you'll be in a period of really deep sleep. And it's also true that the quality of the sleep is really not great. So take a look at the left. The top image on the left is what normal sleep patterns look like. That's what a healthy sleep pattern looks like, between the periods of awakeness, sleep, and then deep sleep. And the bottom image is what sleep looks like after a night of drinking. And you can see it's very disturbed. It's not what your body actually wants. And what are some of the effects of this? Well, you can wake up feeling really groggy and unfocused. You can have problems with snoring and sleep apnea. It can cause bladder issues all night. And there's some other important connections too. So poor sleepers are twice as likely to use alcohol to induce sleep. And alternating between stimulants and sedatives has been associated with a higher risk of substance dependence. And that sounds like, oh, we must be talking about some really heavy-duty, scary stuff. But the use of stimulants and sedatives together can look as non-threatening as having a beer before bed and a coffee in the morning. And again, that increases your risks of developing a substance use disorder. Some other miscellaneous sleep hygiene tips. Exercising during the day can be really helpful to helping you rest later on at night. Caffeine is really powerful stuff. Most people don't realize it, but you can drink a little in the morning, it'll affect you for quite a while. So you should set a caffeine curfew at least 6 hours before bedtime if you don't want caffeine affecting your sleep. Eating before bed is also not terribly helpful if you want to sleep well. The recommendation is 2 hours before bed, no food in that time period. There's nothing inherently wrong with napping during the day. It's not necessarily going to make it harder for you to fall asleep later. When it will make it hard for you to fall asleep later is if you take really long naps and you're taking them later on in the afternoon, like after 3 p.m. Environmental considerations. Your bedroom. Making your bedroom an inviting, sleep-friendly place. One of the things is you can set your phone to airplane mode. That way it's not going off all night and waking you up. Sometimes it's inevitable that you've got to use, a screen of some sort at night. Homework assignments run late sometimes. We get it. We're not cops. We're not your parents. These are your choices. But if you should end up in that situation, one way to reduce the amount of harm that it does to your sleep cycle is to reduce the brightness of your screen. And there are many blue light apps available for your cell phones, and what they'll do is you'll turn them on, it'll reduce the amount of blue light that the screen emits. It's mitigating the problem. Sometimes you can't do anything about light. If you're living on campus, there's lights everywhere outside and it gets in. So one thing you can use is blackout curtains. They're those thick curtains that block light. You can also use a sleep mask. And along with that, noise is another thing that can permeate the environment from outside. So fans can help, white noise machines can help. As far as your bed goes, comfortable bedding is a must. Again, if you're uncomfortable, it's going to be hard to fall asleep, and it can really help maintain the proper temperature. And speaking of temperature, the temperature of your room is another important thing. You don't want it too cold, you don't want it too hot. For most people, 65 degrees Fahrenheit is a good place to start. And the last thing, essential oils or other pleasant aromas. Don't be afraid to use them. If it helps relax you, it can be part of your self-care routine. That can, again, make your bedroom feel more inviting, more sleep-friendly. And so, last but not least, if at some point you'd like to work on your sleep habits, or maybe if you feel like this is something beyond just habit or control, here's some resources on campus. There are plenty of places on campus that can help. First of all, St. Cloud State Wellness Coaching. If you want to work on your health and wellness goals, which might include working on some strategies for sleeping, you can always send an email to wellnesscoach@stcloudstate.edu or call 320-308-4179. It's a no-cost service. You can participate for as many or as few sessions as you'd like. Maybe you feel like this might be a medical problem that might be at the root of it. In that case, you can always go to the medical clinic. You can go to their website at stcloudstate.edu/medical clinic. You can call them at 320-308-3191. Maybe it feels like this might be a mental health issue or something else that feels like maybe counseling and psychological services can help. Well, to get in touch with them, you can go to stcloudstate.edu/counseling/default.aspx, or you can call them at 320-308-3171. So, that's the end of the presentation. Thank you very much for watching and listening, and we wish you all the luck in the world with your studies and with getting a good night's sleep.